Good day to all again and welcome. My next case focuses on an area that is very much of personal interest to me, and that is on work-integrated learning. So let us get into case 16 that plays this focus. Work-integrated learning, opening up the workspace as a site of learning. Once again, my name is Thasmai. I work at the University of Johannesburg as a lecturer in science education, as well as I have affiliations to the University of South Africa, the International Open University in Gambia, as well as in still education. Getting into this study on work-integrated learning, we know that technical, vocational, and education training colleges play an important role in the development of any country. And the purpose of TVET is to improve the knowledge and enhance skills development in individuals with the intention of meeting the current market needs and thereby increasing employability and thus allowing an improved quality of life. It is an opportunity to mitigate poverty. However, at present, we find that many TVET colleges face a complex problem. One being its lecturers in terms of the education of new lecturers, ongoing professional development of their current lecturers, as well as TVET lecturers' knowledge of contemporary practice in industry. And when this happens, we find it impacting on access, quality, and success. And in a few moments, I'm going to tell you, or you will see rather, how access, quality, and success are defined by the DHET in terms of its open learning policy framework. Let's just go back to a brief history of TVET, okay, and why we want TVET colleges to be successful and why it is critical. So at present, we know South Africa is characterized by high levels of unemployment, unskilled workforce, and inequalities amongst its people. Therefore, we need TVET colleges because they provide skills and they provide opportunity for human resource development. And they play an important role in the curing of assets for South Africa, assets such as social development, cohesion, and improved economy and quality of life for all. However, the role players or the key role players in these TVET colleges are our TVET lecturers because they have a huge responsibility on their shoulders. And that is they are responsible for the delivery of the curriculum and imparting the knowledge and skills onto the students for meeting the demands of a dynamic environment. Therefore, we need to explore the type of professional development that is available and that these TVET lecturers engage in or have opportunity to. And this ultimately leads us to our research question. How are work-integrated learning practices designed to open up the workplace at a site of professional and continuous development learning for TVET college staff? Our sub-questions that are guiding are what work-integrated learning practices are in existence for TVET college lecturers? How do these practices enable the involvement of a wide range of staff through the addressing the economic obstacles to participation? And how do these practices enable the involvement of a wide range of staff through addressing social and cultural obstacles for participation? It is important for us to understand South Africa's aim is to drive economic expansion, and this is done by increasing productivity. However, this can only be possible with a workforce that is qualified to fill the needs of the given industry. And this is what now frames or guides our entire study. Once again, prior research that had to be undertaken before this study can actually open up is for us as researchers to understand what DHET defines by open learning. Again, DHET's open learning framework is based on the pillars of access, quality, and success. Once again, if we had to look at some of the key challenges before I delve into the methodology, I just want to go back to this slide, is that the DHET and individual colleges liaise with industry to ensure curriculum adequately matches the needs of industry and the curriculum deliverers here. And they are equipped accordingly. And the deliverers of the curriculum now are our TVET lecturers. But how does DHET and individual colleges liaise with each other is a big question. That is what we need to establish here. Now, even though there's an intent to have equal opportunity and to have collaborative linkages, however, sometimes such linkages and such practice may unwittingly undermine what Nancy Fraser terms as parity of participation. And as a consequence, it may only be partially ameliorative or even reinscribe the original economic, cultural, and political injustices that exist or existed in the past. So that is one of the things we need to be conscious of when examining work integrated learning opportunities that are in existence or upcoming opportunities that may be there. For TVET lecturers, it is critical that they engage in reflective practice for meaningful teaching and learning. And for reflective practice to happen, there is a need for a focus on collaborative relationships. And these collaborative relationships can be achieved through professional learning communities. Therefore, there is a need to have such in place. And from what we have seen in the past, as indicated in the National Development Plan of 2012, TVET was designed to respond to skills or to the skills need of the formal economy. However, many of the colleges did not have the desired results. Okay, there was poor effectiveness, particularly in terms of teacher output and the quality and the responsiveness to the needs of the student. So clearly these are matters that need to be addressed, and that is what the study looked at. So the nature of this study was descriptive and exploratory. Therefore, the researcher opted for a qualitative research design. It sought to explore the scenes or initiatives of the DVET and TVET sector and their approaches to creating collaborative linkages with industry. Participants from DHET were purposely selected for the study purely due to their role they played in the processes involved in establishing these collaborative linkages. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, data collection was confined to remote interviews with only 3 participants. Although for this study a predefined questionnaire was established, it proved to be unsuccessful, while a more open conversational approach with participants proved to yield more insightful information and findings for this particular case. Once the data was collected, it was analyzed using thematic analysis. The findings of this study in answering the research questions, what work integrated learning practices for TVET college staff exist? Two partnerships came up that were quite interesting. One being the Swiss-South African Collaborative Initiative, and the other being a German partnership. Just to give you a brief background on each. So the Swiss-South African Collaborative Initiative began early in 2014 that explored Work for Lecturers. It was found to be very useful because it assisted TVET college lecturers in terms of their application of theory to practice. While the German partnership, also known as GIZ, that's GIZ, is a present program that caters for lecturer capacity building, which began in 2020. This program started with an initial of about 40 participants, and it is gradually growing, indicating a successful program. The program is based on a blended mode for lecturer training. Thus, lecturers have opportunity to relate theory gained over this program to practice, and they are able to put this into practice when they are placed at the work integrated learning posts. And this was some of the interesting points. Now, when we look at these programs, we then need to ask ourselves, how do these practices now address economic obstacles to participation? And once again, we found that CETAs were available and they provided bursaries to the TVET sector to place world sites. We had overseas world placements happening where travel and accommodation were covered, or these costs were covered. And because these costs were covered, it allowed for individuals to, and it encouraged them to participate, and it allowed for further development. Some programs also provided a part-time employment, which also aided in the financial aspect for the lecturers. In terms of the cultural and social obstacles and how these initiatives address these obstacles to participation, one of the key findings here was that understanding of non-contact time. Many of the participants were reluctant to engage in these programs if it happened over the holidays or if it happened over their weekends. They basically wanted to be paid for this, to attend. So organizations such as the GIZ, the British Council, the Chinese Cultural Center allowed for international development opportunity. And when there is an international development opportunity, participants were ever readily and eagerly excited because they had the opportunity to, one, travel, two, learn from a different context, share their own contextual experiences, collaborate, communicate, and engage with each other. So it provided a form of motivation. Okay, and if you look at also the formal qualifications, the postgraduate diploma that was developed by the GIZ, the University of Pretoria, University of Munich, and DHET. These qualifications then embedded a world component, thus allowing theory and practice in one. And many students or potential TVET lecturers found this very useful, and it proved to be a success. The first cohort began with only 30 applicants. By the second cohort, there were 143 applicants. And clearly there was a positive response from this, from the students, and it was an initiative that was really worth the while. If we look at recommendations moving forward, from this study, it has been evident that multiple pilot programs have been initiated over the time. However, these pilot programs are merely that, pilots. They attract a lot of funding indeed. However, they just stop at some point and cannot progress once the pilot has ended due to a lack of funding. And as a result of this, many colleges engage in different other programs that may be available. So this, to some extent, doesn't really allow for standardization. We also suggest that the continuing existing partnerships need to be there and in place, and it should become an integral process for lecturer development. And ultimately, the actual cost of further education and development is not the obstacle. The opportunity cost of time is the obstacle that was evident from this study. I thank you very much. We will now take questions.